With more on what this political shakeup could mean for the state of the race, joining me now is Outreach Director at American Values 2024 PAC supporting RFK Jr., Larry Sharp. Larry, good morning. Thanks for joining. So RFK had a promising start, as I mentioned, at one point polling near 19%. Why didn't this resonate? Why couldn't his campaign take hold?
Well, the hardest part here is the DNC, right? Earlier you mentioned, why did Trump earn his endorsement? I'm not sure that Trump earned his endorsement more than the Democratic Party pushed it away. The Democratic Party went out of its way to push him off the ballot, still suing him off the ballot in many states. He had to spend $15 million with get over 1 million signatures. Lots of people trying to get on board, and Democratic Party just pushed that away like there's no tomorrow. But to be forward, this campaign was always about something more. It was always about trying to make impact, trying to have an independent movement, all of those things. So that's why the campaign didn't end. That's why it's suspended, so people can still vote from across the country, right? If you vote from across the country in non-battleground states, he can still pull 5%. He can still make an independent movement in this country. And that was a secondary goal anyway. So it was not just about him getting to the White House. When it comes to supporting the campaign, look, Donald Trump can't actually say, I'm going to give him X, Y, and Z. We don't want to do a quid pro quo back and forth, obviously.
Sure.
But there's no doubt that we do want him to be in the administration and make some kind of impact. No one else has been able to do that. The system is really against any third party, and I think that's obvious.
What do RFK supporters have? What would you say to them as they were looking for RFK as an alternative to Trump or Biden, now Harris? Why would his voters now choose to vote for either of the two main party candidates, especially if they wanted that independent party, that independent person to vote for?
Yeah, well, there's two reasons. One, in the swing states, I can understand why people would do that. I mean, why would you want to punish what the Democratic Party has done? Right? Democratic Party has shown that it's not democratic. It's decided that to save democracy, we must destroy it. Right. So if you see that the Democratic Party is destroying democracy, I could see why you would vote for Trump to stop that. But if you're not in a swing state, you can still vote for Bobby Kennedy, and you should. But that hasn't changed. That makes any sense. That's why he was very clear in saying his campaign is not over. You can still make impact by voting for Bobby Kennedy in non-swing states.
Larry, you oversaw the super PAC raising money for Kennedy. Talk to us about the challenges you had raising those funds for his campaign.
Yeah, it can be challenging because people start feeling frustrated, right? As soon as you give money, and then that has to go to getting you on the ballot. And then the second you do that, now you're getting sued. So now you need more money to pay for lawyers so you can stay on the ballot. And it keeps going again and again and again. It can be very frustrating for donors when every single time they support something, now here comes either the Clear Choice PAC, which is CCP Clear Choice PAC that works with the DNC, or the DNC throwing another wrench, right? Attacking again. So every time you give, there's another barrier and another barrier. The goal was to outlast and to make the Kennedy campaign spend money. And now with this new plan that Kennedy has, now Democrats have to. Because remember, in many of these blue states, California, New York, the Democrats weren't going to spend any money. They thought, we don't care about these states, we're going to win. Now with Kennedy still there and fighting there, now the Democrats have to spend some money. This is a little, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Very interesting perspective. Let's bring in South Carolina Republican Party former chairman, Caton Dawson, and Democratic strategist and president of Hicks Evaluation Group, Fred Hicks. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for joining. Caton, I'll start with you. New reporting suggests Democrats are circulating a memo right now. They're dismissing any impact that Kennedy dropping out of the race will affect them in any way. This is what they said in part. Trump embracing RFK Jr. now when he has nothing to offer but months of disqualifying revelations is not a decision a campaign makes when they are acting from a position of strength, end quote. Caton, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I agree with everything Larry said earlier. The DNC pushed him out. This was a coronation. They even orchestrated getting Joe Biden out of the race. So it was well done, well received. It was a great pep rally last week, and now we have a contest between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. But let me explain my reverence for the Kennedy family. I was 8 years old when President Kennedy was assassinated. I was 12 years old when Bobby Kennedy's when Bobby Kennedy was murdered, and his RFK Jr. was 14 years old. So that was always a place in my heart of sadness for the Kennedys. I doubt I would ever have voted for a Kennedy, but it was a sadness of the Kennedys. So there's some reverence for that name,
Sure.
Robert F. Kent Fitzgerald Kennedy. So with all that being said, the Kennedys have a place in everybody's heart. He is a memory of a sad time in a country on two occasions, and he's well spoken. Now, his policies might be different or hokey, but he got shoved out of the Democrat Party, never had a fair shot at it. I understand that because it was Joe Biden's race to win, and now he's no longer on the ballot. So we're now down to a contest, and we're down to a contest between two people out of 341 million people. There's two people who can be president. Bobby Kennedy's endorsement, I'd much rather have it than not have it. Let me explain that to you. There's some negatives to it, but this race is no longer Democrats and Republicans. It's the 26% of independent voters. You watch the Democrat Party come together. You'll watch the Republican Party, like myself, come together, because I was with Nikki Haley and now I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Doesn't mean I like him, but means I like his policies. But at the end of the day, I'm a Republican.
Fred,
Move those votes out the way. The independent votes are what they're coming after. That's what friends that I know that put Bobby Kennedy signs in his yard, those were independents. They weren't coming from either party. So that's what's got the Democratic Party shooken up right now.
You make a good point, Kate. And Fred, I have to ask you, for those independent voters that Caton was just mentioning, what does Harris need to do to try to win them over to her side if they are undecided and don't want to vote for Trump come November?
So I want to first say that now I hear everything that Caton said and what Bobby and his Super PAC supporter champion said, but the reality is that the reason why he's dropping out is not because of some mass conspiracy by the Democratic Party. It's the fact that his campaign cratered. As you mentioned in the lead, he went from 19% to 5% to, in many states and swing states, he's fallen below the 5% threshold down to 2 or 3%, which is what happens historically in every single election. Americans flirt, at least in the last 30 years, Americans flirt with the idea of an independent party. And then as you get closer and closer to the election, those numbers fall. And when you get closer and closer to the election and Donald Trump is your alternative, those numbers also fall. And so Bobby Kennedy's campaign cratered. Yes, he has a revered name, but you know, he himself, in addition to what normally happens, he himself cost himself votes with his really erratic campaigning and erratic statements. So that being said, as far as Democrats go, this is not something we're concerned about. Apparently, a week or so ago, he was shopping his endorsement to the Democratic Party in exchange for a cabinet position, and the vice president and Governor Walz did not return his calls, and so he really didn't have anywhere to go. In addition to losing votes, he didn't have a home over here based on his positions. I also find it very interesting that the chief anti-vaxxer, paired up with the former commander-in-chief who expedited the development of a vaccine for COVID-19. So that, to me, right there says that there's really no honor amongst these two. There's just political expediency. And I think that's part of why, in reality, his campaign cratered, and this is where he is. So it is what it is. But
hold on. If I could touch this, he's sitting here saying the campaign cratered and there was no conspiracy, yet the Democratic Party literally said, no, Bobby Kennedy, man who your uncle and father was killed, you may not have Secret Service protection. It took Donald Trump to get Secret Service protection. That's insane. For you to say that Democrats did nothing, shame on you. Not just that, Democrats actually sued him in 12 states. The Republicans did not sue him in 12 states to get him off the ballot. Democrats did. What is that called? A conspiracy.
Wait, Larry,
absolutely attacked him, pushed him to get off the ballot. That was not Republicans. In fact, in North Carolina, Republicans stepped in to support Cornel West getting on the ballot in North Carolina. Democrats didn't. They were fighting Democrats for freedom to get people on the ballot.
Fred, quick response.
The Democratic Party said none of this.
Larry, we're going to let Fred talk. Go ahead.
He was shopping his endorsement a week or so ago to Democrats. So clearly there wasn't that.
He was not shopping at all. It never happened. If you looked at what the reports were,
both of you are talking over each other, and I can't.
Not him.
Larry, I can't hear either of you because both of you are talking over each other. Larry, very quick. Fred did make a good point. RFK reportedly sought out a meeting with Kamala Harris. He was unsuccessful, he said, and the campaign never called him back.
That's not an accurate report. Look at the report. It was his staffers who were trying to find jobs there. He never reached out to him ever.
So RFK never reached out to the Harris campaign.
That is correct. That is correct.
All right. Let's move on there. Thank you for clarifying that as well. Now, we can't escape the historic moment here. A Kennedy endorsing a Republican. We know many Kennedys spoke up last night. They say they're very disappointed. Trump himself has called RFK literally the dumbest person in the Kennedy clan. He calls him a lunatic liberal. And now, obviously, he's taking his endorsement. Caton, your thoughts now. How do you want to weigh in?
Well, if Donald Trump likes you, he gives you a really crappy nickname. And I watched him dust off 12 Republicans the first time, 16 the second time. So Donald Trump supporters are locked down, similar to the Democrat Party locked theirs down last week. So none of that. The rhetoric really doesn't matter. You just mentioned this morning, football season starts, NASCAR racing starts. The kids just went back to school and played inflated prices for blue jean shirts and book bags. So now the race is on. Bobby Kennedy will sort of move along the side. Again, the Democrats are gonna criticize the endorsement. The Republicans are going to question it. It is what it is. If you're a politician or you manage politicians, you try to get the endorsements of everybody you can get that are legitimate. It's a legitimate endorsement with a legitimate name. Does it do much? It might, because this race is going to come down to 26 counties and 144,000 votes out of 1.5 million votes. That's what it's going to do. That's why the Democrats are, and I don't want to disagree with either one of my fellow people on this morning. The Democrat Party is looking for just like what we're looking for. We're looking for those votes in those swing states in 26 counties that are going to matter. Donald Trump has known that for 3 years. He's been working on it. The Biden camp also understands that. So this is a really tight race. America is split in half. It's not going to heal or get any better anytime soon. And so that's, Hannah, we're going to be talking about that center voter, which is a center-right American who's going to choose between Donald Trump, Kamala Harris. If Bobby Kennedy happens to shake that tree and they drop their good for Donald Trump, it's probably not going to cost Donald Trump any votes.
Right.
But again, it's a pretty big name.
All right, I'm running out of time, Fred. I want to give you the last word, if you want to respond.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of the Venn diagram of support, Bobby Kennedy supporter was taking away from Donald Trump, not from Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Tim Walz. So at the end of the day, this, if it does anything, to Kate's point, it might help Donald Trump. But the reality is that Kamala Harris has surged in the polls, and her surge is really largely attributed to the gains she's made with independent voters and securing the support of Democratic voters. So it's a tight race. We have a long way to go, 70+ days. We are excited about it. Bobby Kennedy doesn't move the needle, and we're off to the races.
I appreciate the conversation this morning. I appreciate all of you joining me. Fred Hicks, Kate Dawson, Larry Sharp. Thank you, gentlemen.